So after you've sent across your quote, you want to be getting in front of the prospective client in order to arrange a follow-up call to take them through anything that they might not understand. There isn't any particular structure to this call, but it's really important that you spend some additional time with them going through the document. The reason being is that the client may not fully understand all the details you sent across, and quite naturally there is going to be questions about the things that you've put in front of them. So it's really helpful to actually be able to talk this through. This isn't something where you just hand over the document and they say yes or no. Often it takes a lot more work in trying to convince them. When it comes to taking them through the document, what you essentially need to do is just provide a broad summary in terms of explaining why you've included the things you have included. So for example, if they are a social media client and you've put a quote in for social media management, explain what you've researched and how you've come to the conclusions you have to, rather than just sort of saying, yep, this is the price. Often a lot of businesses, particularly business owners, if you're speaking to them, really don't have very much of an idea about actually how much time and investment and creativity goes into a lot of the work we do. So you do need to get it across there and then. Naturally, the client is just going to come back to you with a whole array of different questions, and there isn't any theme or commonality between them. Each person is going to be different in the things that they ask. Some people can be very switched on and just get it. Others can need a lot of sort of guidance and nudging into the right direction that actually digital marketing is what they need, and you are the right person in order to be able to do it. A few of the common things that do come back is A, querying the price. Now, sometimes there's different ways in which a client will position this, but ultimately they are trying to knock you down. You would need to go in beforehand and sort of almost ask yourself, well, if they were to, I don't know, ask for a 10% discount, a 20% discount, or, significantly lower, are you prepared to do that? This goes back to how much you originally priced your services at. Now, if it's a case that it could be a fantastic client, they could be really good to work with, it could help with your portfolio, then maybe that's something you want to consider. Now, you need to go into that call prepared that you might be knocked down on price, but also have a figure that you're not willing to negotiate on, that you're prepared to come down to. The only other thing which does come out quite often is, oh, well, what other experience do you have in my industry? And it's a weird one, to be honest, because a lot of the experience you will gain comes from tactics, and it's almost regardless of the industry you're working in, you do apply a very similar approach. It's very useful to know about an industry and what's going on in that industry and the competitors in the industry and so on. But at large, what you do in one client very easily translates to another. If that does come up, I think it's a case of being honest and just saying, no, you don't have any experience in the fashion industry, in the estate agency industry, but it's something you are keen to work towards. This is also where it comes in useful in doing that research and preparing the quote, because you know a little about the industry then. Sure, you might not know loads, but it shows you've got an enthusiasm and an interest in doing it, so try and highlight that if it comes up. The other thing that a potential client might query is the experience, or indeed the lack of experience, that you might have. Now, to be honest, this is perfectly acceptable. You're going to be in a position where genuinely you might not have a great deal of experience versus other people that they are speaking to. At this stage, there isn't going to be anything that you can do to change that. Now, I certainly wouldn't lie to the client and pretend you know more than you have, because that just creates issues in itself. It also creates the problem that you will ultimately make a mistake with your digital marketing, which would then be problematic. If it was me, I'd be honest and go, look, you know what, I don't know a great deal about this, but I know about the industry. Within the context of the call and the quote itself, you're showing you're interested in them as a person. You're showing that you're interested in their business and the industry at large. If they like you as a person, that can often be the biggest barrier in terms of winning work. So it is all the more important that you try and build rapport with these people, as much as talking about the skills and expertise that you may have. If you are concerned by the fact that you don't have skills and expertise in a particular area of digital marketing, which they are looking for, and they may be querying, then that might be the occasion where you look at bringing someone else in to work alongside you. There are thousands of experts out there across the world who specialize in all sorts of different things. So it makes sense that if you don't have the expertise in one, and you certainly don't feel confident enough being able to deliver a piece of work, but still want to work on the project, then to involve someone else and collaborate. You certainly need to explain that up front, that there'll be someone else working on a project or a retainer with you. But most clients are actually very receptive to the idea, because essentially it's two brains which are better than one. So all in all, if you can demonstrate an enthusiasm and a level of professionalism, this should be quite an easy point to get across. By the end of this call, you will know one way or the other, pretty much, as to whether or not they want to pursue a retainer with you. If in the event they say yes, then that is awesome and congratulations to you. All I do is follow that up with a very quick email, just confirming in writing what it is that you're going to be doing, when you're going to be starting, and how much it is going to be for. That just confirms everything and seals it. It's just to make sure, literally, in the event that you haven't misheard them, and the client is also going to be fully aware of when you're starting. Now, there will be some instances where people do need more time to reflect and think about it. In those instances, do check in with people, but don't be too pushy about it. In essence, you're there to help with any help and assistance in trying to get them to understand what is most beneficial to their business. Now, there are going to be some instances where ultimately people aren't going to go for your services, and it does happen. The reason that which it may happen can be completely random, and even if you think it may be for a given reason, it might be for something completely different. In these instances, and especially in the early days of you freelancing, send them a quick follow-up email and say, look, is there anything else that I could have done differently in order for you to work with me? Now, I've done this a few times, and to be honest, again, the things that come back are random. Sometimes it's price, sometimes it's experience, sometimes it's just not the right time. Sometimes they found someone which is literally on their doorstep and they prefer to work with them. And sometimes in the time that you've been talking, the business itself has changed and they've employed a member of staff or they've lost a member of staff. And so ultimately they don't need digital marketing. So to summarize, is that sales process, where you can, make sure you speak to the client up front. Don't do it just over email, and where you can, do it on Skype. Have that conversation, take it away and do some research. Write that research up into a quote and send that quote across requesting a follow-up call. Do that follow-up call and see how things go. You're going to win some clients, you're going to lose others, but either way you're going to gain valuable experience. So when the next client comes along, you're going to have an even greater success rate in knowing what to do and what not to do, and what to say and what not to say. And all that will help you win more digital marketing work.